There just had to be a huge leak regarding Xbox and their first-party studios. Right when this year was coming to an end, most of us thought the news would slow down. Well, that's not the case. We have a huge leak regarding the Bethesda Studios' Roundhouse Studios. There's a leak that surfaced talking about Xbox making a big comic book game. Let's get into what's being said and what type of game they could be making. Let's get into this. Hey, what's up everyone? Thanks for stopping by and checking out the video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. And if you want to be notified on future content, hit that small little bell icon. And if you want to go the extra mile to support the channel, hit that join button. Alright, enough of that. Let's get into this new leak that has me extremely excited. The first game I want to talk about is a little bit of a new one, but a weird one if I might add. It's the Roundhouse Studios game that Bethesda is making, which apparently is a comic book game that involves PvP and PvE elements. Now, I know most people don't know who Roundhouse Studios are, and to be honest, I was one of those people until I did some research on them. They're a new studio that brought out a game called Rune 2. Yet, right when they brought out that game, they closed down the studio and was immediately bought up by Bethesda. Oh, and their former name was Human Head Studios. I say this because they had a lot of big games in development, especially when it comes to PC gaming. Yet the last game they brought out was back in 2019 of November, which was Rune 2. Ever since then, they've been quiet, haven't done a whole lot of work. In fact, it's almost as if they've kind of fallen off the face of the planet. I think this has more to do with the game they developed prior, not to mention I think Bethesda has been giving them a lot of time to fill out their studio or fill out the game they want to make, which apparently is a huge comic book license. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of legal trouble apparently that they have with the company they made Rune 2 for, especially since they made the game, released it, and then shut down their studio, then renamed it, and then were bought by Bethesda. So there's a lot in this article, yet the one thing I want to concentrate on is the next game they're making. Here's what the article has to say. Bethesda's Roundhouse Studios is reportedly working on a PvPvE game based on a major comic book license. Newly discovered evidence seems to suggest that Roundhouse Studios, formerly Human Head Studios, is working on a third-person shooter based on a big comic book property. Okay, so the first thing I have to say is that for the longest time, I've said that Xbox should make a brand new comic book game. With Sony having Spider-Man on lockdown, but also having Wolverine coming in the next 3 to 4 years, it's obvious that they're cornering the market when it comes to huge IPs in the comic book genre. Of course, there's other games like Batman, Suicide Squad, and of course Avengers out there from third-party publishers, not to mention Guardians of the Galaxy, which was one of my favorite games of 2020. But as exclusive games go, Sony obviously has those games locked down compared to Xbox. And for the longest time, I've always said that Xbox should really get into the comic book gaming market because it's huge, and I think they really need one to compete with what Sony's PlayStation is providing. And this new Roundhouse Studios might be making that game right now, which is something the article talks about right here. There's no shortage of major upcoming AAA games that are based on big licensed properties, but unsurprisingly, it seems that there are more in the works that we don't yet know about, officially at least. One of these, it seems, is the game being developed by Bethesda-owned and Microsoft-owned, in turn, Roundhouse Studios, which was formerly Human Head Studios and reformed under controversial circumstances. As spotted on Twitter by FaZe, the LinkedIn profile of a developer at Roundhouse Studios suggests prior to the closure of Human Head Studios, which is what Roundhouse was before it was reformed, the development team was working on a team-based PvPvE third-person shooter built on Unreal Engine 4 and based on a major comic book license. The brief description of the game on the LinkedIn profile makes mention of emphasis on player movement, weapons, status effects, game modes, and AI for a variety of creatures in the world. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that the game is going to be a co-op experience from what we see here. This instantly makes me think it's going to be a team-based game with a semi-open world. I think of it sort of like The Division, where you can go fight against people in the dead zone, but also have NPCs and computers attack you at the same time. With that said, I want to say that this development studio isn't that big and isn't the most talented team at Bethesda. In fact, I would say they're a very small studio that's probably helping one of the biggest studios within Bethesda make this game. I don't think they're making their own huge AAA game because they just don't have enough developers on staff at the studio to handle that type of development, especially a huge AAA comic book game. which is something that's been in development since 2019 apparently. Here's what's said. Interestingly, the profile of another Roundhouse developer mentions that the unannounced game, which started development in 2019, is still in the works, with the studio currently seemingly employing over 50 developers. There are, of course, a lot of questions worth asking here. With Human Head having been shuttered and reformed as Roundhouse Studios, it's unknown whether the exact same project is in the works, especially given how vague the information in this particular instance is. If it is the same project, it remains to be seen how much it will have changed since coming under the Bethesda umbrella. Of course, if the project does still exist, many will be curious to know what major comic book license it is based on. Okay, so I truly believe that this studio joined Bethesda as a support studio, maybe for someone like Machine Games who are working on Indiana Jones or a bigger game like that, or maybe they're working on something that is unannounced that we haven't seen yet. There's so many options, especially when we know that Lucasfilms, Marvel, and to some extent DC are willing to bring out their IPs to other studios. This could mean that Bethesda got the license to use one of these IPs in the comic book world to make a big game for that, and they brought in Roundhouse Studios to help lead that project. And that wouldn't be the first time this has happened, especially since the game development world is having a massive problem with manpower all over the place. Basically, there's not a lot of developers out there, yet we know this game is in development, and we know that up to 53 developers are working on it according to what the leak has to say right here. Roundhouse Studios, formerly Human Head from Bethesda Softworks, before closure, they were working on a UE4 project, online team-based PvPvE third-person shooter based on a major comic license. According to senior character artists, they are still working on unannounced project. Game was in alpha as of 2018. Any idea which major comic book project? Marvel, DC, Lucasfilm, Roundhouse Studios don't have any dedicated website or LinkedIn page. So this person went around and checked basically who was working on there through LinkedIn, and he found 53 developers. I do have to say that we should all take this with a massive grain of salt, but I do have to say this wouldn't surprise me. I don't think Roundhouse Studios is making a massive AAA game by themselves. There's no way that 50 people are making a massive game with that much material or budget. Yet I do think that 50 people can help lead a game like that as a support team. Much like the Initiative has about 60 people on staff, they got the gameplay loop down, they got what they wanted, and then they brought in Crystal Dynamics to help make their game and fill it out into a AAA experience. This is something that Bethesda has done for a very long time. They have multiple teams in every single studio they own around the world. Bethesda Software has teams in Maryland and across the country. Arcane Studios has a team in Austin and Lyon. Machine Games has multiple teams on hand making games like Wolfenstein and, of course, Indiana Jones. With that said, I do have to mention that a lot of those studios are named after the studios they're a part of. Yet Roundhouse Studios is all alone. And with their name, and they're a standalone studio, apparently according to Wikipedia, not to mention Bethesda themselves. So maybe after the last 2 years since they joined Bethesda, they had this concept of a game in mind, and the 50 people there were in leading positions to get the core gameplay loop down. And that's something they've been working on for the last 2 years and might need 3 years to get it down before they get more support from Bethesda or Xbox. So this could turn into a game that 50 people lead and get the core mechanics down. Then they bring over the other studios across Bethesda's empire to help them, or even the Xbox support studios across the industry. No matter what it is, I'm glad they're working on a brand new comic book game, and I'm excited to see what it's all about. And I don't want to speculate what this game is, but if I had to guess, I think it might be something from Lucasfilm's games or something for Marvel, because I haven't seen Warner Brother Games throwing their IPs out there anymore, and I haven't seen anything from Image Comics or Dark Horse Comics coming out either. So I think this game is a little ways out for being announced or even acknowledged. Either way, I'm excited to see what they have under development, especially since it is a massive Xbox AAA game that's leaked yet again, because we know that Xbox has so many leaked games, we know that Xbox has so many games in development, and to be honest, they're not announcing a lot of them. I mean, we already heard about the Coalition working on 2 games, we have everybody working on something, and it's all kept secret because Xbox has so many games to release that it's becoming a little overwhelming. But enough of what I think about this, tell me what you think about this. What comic book IP is this game going to be? Are you excited for the PvPvE mechanics about this game? Would you rather have a single player game or a co-op game? Are you excited about the co-op aspect like I am? What other studios have you excited about what Xbox is making? Will we hear about this game next year, or do you think it's a few years out? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button to support us out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there, so get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamer tag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing, and let's compete in achievements for the month. So, I haven't had that much work lately because I've been kind of hanging out in the holidays, hanging out with the family. But you know what I've been doing? I've been gaming a lot. I've been playing a lot of Dying Light, trying to get through that game on PC with my buddies because we're playing 3-player co-op on Steam, and I gotta say, that game's a lot of fun. I never really played Dying Light. I played Dead Island, but I didn't play a lot of Dying Light, and I have to say, that game is really well done, and it makes me look forward to Dying Light 2, which is coming out in just a few months. But I've also been jumping into Sea of Thieves a lot. I know, the holiday season, I had to go out there and wish some people Merry Christmas out there by taking all of their loot and sinking their ships. I still, to this day, think Sea of Thieves is one of the best games Xbox has ever brought out, and I'm having a blast with it. Me and my buddies are going out there just having a good time, and you know what? There's an event going on, and I'm just having a good time with that game. Plus, I've been playing a lot of Horizon Zero Dawn on the PC with my Xbox controller. I have to say, Guerrilla Games made one of the best looking games and one of the best combat games I've played in a long time. Horizon Zero Dawn is great, and it makes me look forward to Horizon Forbidden West because you know what? This game is open, you have an open world, you fight dinosaurs that are machines, and you know what? It's a lot of fun. So I recommend this game if people want to play it on PC or play it on your PS5. I'm sure it has a boost there too. But let me know where you're playing. Are you on your PC, your Xbox, or are you on your PS5? Let me know down below because that's what we're here for. It's to talk games. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.